This is the Promise van, built on a Sprinter 144 chassis with the factory four-wheel drive, built for luxury, but being able to get anywhere I want to go anytime. So let's see how. So obviously you see this coming at you from behind. This is not your everyday Sprinter. You're gonna see a huge bumper coming at you right away. This is the Backwoods Adventure Mod front bumper with the light bar in it, plus the extra fog lights in the cubes, and then a 12,000 pound super winch that's set up to get this thing out if I get myself in any bit of trouble. I wanted to make sure from there, keep the lighting going. I've got my ditch lights up at the top, just so I can get that light that spreads out for me. And then as I keep going around, you can start seeing that it is a 4x4, so it's got a little bit of lift, but I've done a little bit extra with the suspension. I added the Van Compass suspension kit, so it has Falcon fully adjustable shocks all the way around. And then on the back, I even added the Baja mounts so that I have both support for the upper and lower shock. So I went ahead and added the Van Speed capsules to give that little extra distance. When we get inside, you'll see why it really makes a difference. Traction boards on the side in the great magnetic mount. And then you come back around to the back again to the Backwoods Adventure Mods rear bumper with the extra spare tire mount, the storage box, which is super convenient, adding in some roto packs for some added diesel, and then of course propane for when I want to get the Blackstone. So when we climb up the ladder, get up to the roof, you notice on the roof rack, I've got my GMRS antenna. Then behind that, my Out-Equip Pro 12 volt AC with the heat pump, super efficient, which is great with all the power. Then that actually even leads right into the 290 watt solar panels. They're sitting back there, so 380 watts total. And behind that, you see a little circle disc. That would be the Peplink 7-in-1 antenna for Wi-Fi, 5G, and all the great connectivity. So you might have noticed these random circles above the door. Everyone's always worried about security. The great thing is these are the TP-Link Topo Wi-Fi cameras. So magnetic, I can leave the main mounts on and just take them, align them from my phone, and be able to track what's around and have 4 of them all the way around the van. So I think most van builds right away jump into what's behind me. But we spend a lot of time sitting in this seat. That's a lot of it, and I think it's important to show some of the highlights that I did in the front of the van before we start getting to the back. But if I start all the way in the front, you can take a look what's under the hood. Reasonably stock turbo diesel, however, added in the ARB dual compressor under the hood for those times I need to go off grid. K&N filter just to make sure that I've got a little bit better performance, but otherwise, pretty stock. So now that we're back on the inside and I'm behind the steering wheel, there's some questions about what I did for the upgrades inside. And I had some creature comforts I wanted. This is not a brand new van. I didn't buy it off the lot. I didn't get all the bells and whistles. So some of it did have to get upgraded. One of the things is I enjoy a better stereo. I like a little more sound. And in all reality, for long drives and things like that, I really wanted Apple CarPlay. So we did go ahead and get rid of the stock head unit, and I put a Pioneer 10-inch floating screen head unit in, which is great. And then I also went ahead and replaced the speakers in the door to give a little better sound there. And where a lot of people under the passenger seat, they'll often put the diesel heater. I wanted that for storage, but also I found a Kicker 10-inch powered sub to give me that little bit of low end. I don't need it to be thumping and the most incredibly sounding vehicle in the world, but I wanted a nice sound for when I'm on the road for hours at a time. Now that covers the sound. Now the next thing was we didn't have a rearview mirror. So that's where I went ahead and added in the Wolfbox rearview mirror with the camera. You might have seen the camera on the box in the back as we were going through it on the license plate, wondering what that was. Well, that gives me this nice digital camera. It does recording. I can do front and rear. Really gives me a lot of flexibility, and it really is one of the clearest screens I've ever seen. It's probably, I think it's clearer than if I actually had a mirror up there. Now, outside of that, it was just some small upgrades. I did have things like I added a bar up top here just to hold things like holding my Garmin InReach Mini or to be able to mount my phone. And then I think the last two things in the front were, one, I added a storage box on the passenger footwell. So by doing that, it gave me a little bit of storage, but also the seats are pretty high. So if you're shorter, the legs don't dangle, and it's more comfortable for a longer drive. So I wanted my passenger to have a little more comfortable ride. And then I think probably the most important one is when I take the dog out with us, he needed a spot to be that we felt it was safe. So I put this bed platform in, went ahead and added the cover to it. That's just a bed cover to make it a little more comfortable, and that way we can buckle him in and he can be safe while we're on the road as well. So at this point, let's get out of this driver's seat and we'll swing around and take a look at the back. So let's talk about the back for a little bit. Now that you've seen it open, you can tell one of the big things you notice right away is this great bug wall. It's either mesh up top or you can go plastic, and this rolls up. So we're gonna roll it up in a sec. Before you do that, notice the two side walls. So over here, we got the Van Essential wall coverings. Now I had wood back here and then found, after using the Van Essential for the window covers, which I really like, great blackout, magnetic, these go in and fantastic for the storage. So one of the things is on this side, for instance, it's where I keep the hookup for the outdoor shower for back here. So I'll show you where that hooks in a moment. This side, different pumps. This is my cover that goes across here. So that when I am gonna shower out here, get a little bit of privacy when needed. Spot that I can keep my Starlink if needed. So let's look what's behind here. You can do this one at a time, or you can go ahead and roll the whole thing at once. But I'll just get it rolled up. You can see this is getting into the garage. I know garages everyone sees in a lot of different vans. I don't know that y'all are gonna be real excited, but I got a couple features I like about it. This side, bed platform, you notice everything is 80/20. My underneath coverings, I didn't want to have anything real permanent. I wanted to be able to get to it. I just use Velcro, some heavy duty Velcro to keep these on, so I can take these off to service just about anything on either side. Down here is my electrical panel, both for 110 and for 12 volt for some of my fuses. And I have another one over here for this side. I actually split it off and just ran a heavier wire underneath. You see my filter for when I need my, I'm at a campground, whatever, for filling. And then I move that for a sec so you can see behind it. You notice, like I said, I've got the extra 12 volt there, but then the hookup I mentioned for the shower, nicely, I can go right in. I've also got my fill here with the A-cores, and then on this side over here is my mixer, so I can go obviously have hot and cold water while I'm showering. Now the piece in the middle, the big behemoth that you see, this is actually something that I just recently did that I've been real happy about. To be able to store my e-bike, I wanted something, it was, I've got a folding e-bike that made sense to put in here, built it so it fits nice and easy. Actually had a little more room until I add this, but then I thought, there's gotta be a better way to make this a little easier for me. So now I've got this on the slide, so I can just bring this right out. I can bring the slide out, get the bike up and down a lot easier. Tried to figure out what was the best bet for getting the slide in here. This one is actually the slide for a fridge. My thought was, lots of weight on the fridge. This bike is heavy, but it's no more weight than what you're getting in the fridge. So that's the back of the van. And now we'll keep going for more of the tour. So the first thing you're gonna notice when I come to the side is I have the bug wall just like I do on the back. So you see that. This is magnetic. So It nicely opens pretty easily. And then take a look on the outside still. I've got a water hookup, some storage down the bottom here, and then my indoor-outdoor speaker set up, so I can just turn this. I'll show you what that hooks up to in a moment, with a couple speakers there. And then, of course, some USB, and then this switch is for my awning. So, as you see, this awning can easily come out. It's all electric, in and out if I want to use this one. I do have other options as well, but then once it's in, I can go ahead and hit the road. So now, as we step inside, so now that we're in the van, I wanted to show you the first thing was how much clearance I have for me standing here. I'm about 6 foot, and I really wanted to make sure that I had enough space to do that. So what I did, I wanted to be able to stand up, upright, get changed, not worry about hitting my head, all of that. So I used 2 kits in that. Instead of building everything up and being on top of the ridges and all that, I used the ABC Rigs floor, which if you haven't checked out, it's really nice. None of this is sponsored, by the way. However, I do really like their floor. It fits with the ridges on the bottom of the floor, and then has the Baltic birch on top of that. So once I did that, I was able to add in my vinyl plank flooring. Now, once I added my vinyl plank flooring in, the one thing I added in specifically to the flooring was I put in some 12-volt infrared heated floor kits. So I found these strips, they're out of Germany. I will say they take a ton of power. I don't know that I would do them again if I really had the choice. I think I would probably, I'll go back and most likely end up putting hydronic in. But it does give, if I'm at a campsite, if it is really cold, it is nice to step down onto them. They just take a while to heat and they take a lot of power. Now for the walls and ceiling, everything is the Surge Supply kit. For the ceiling, explicitly because it went right up to the existing rails of the van. So it goes right into rivenites and factory holes, so I can still insulate above it. Within everything, I don't have issues with the insulation. There's actually have Havelock wool behind it, so I have all the insulation to keep us hot or cool, whichever it is. But they're easy to put up, nice and clean. Now, the walls is probably the one that a lot of people ask me, well, why didn't you just build the walls? And I thought about it. But when I found the kit from Surge Supply, they already CNC cut everything for exactly the way that the van is. It goes right into factory holes. All you really need to do is some rib nuts in a bunch of preset spots, and then you screw it in. Now, there was 2 big factors for this. One, that's speed. It's clean. You notice, like, even around my windows, it's right at the window. I don't have to add an extra surround. I don't have to do anything for it. It's already nice and clean. Now, the other thing was, with the Van Speed capsules, they actually make a kit that allows me to have a shroud around those. So I'll show you those when we get to the bed, but it keeps it nice and clean. So I'm going to flip this around and we'll talk about the kitchen area. So the kitchen is really this one main space that I have just across from the bench that I've been sitting at. So you'll see I've got a single induction cooktop. I've got my nice deep sink here with regular as well as filtered water. I do have the UV filter on there. And then down below, I've got a Bodega 65-liter fridge. And then also down here, there's a Dometic CD30 sliding fridge. I already had that, so it made sense. Now you're probably wondering what this part is. This is my sidebar system. So I will walk through that here and show you exactly what the sidebar is. Coming back above the kitchen, one of the things I specifically put in was this nice spice rack. I like cooking when we're out. I wanted to make sure that we had the flexibility to really cook whatever we wanted. And then I keep some remotes and such. This is for the AC, which you notice they're just magnetic. They hold great while driving, no issues there at all. So let's move to the bed area. So this is what appears to be a fixed bed as I zoom out a little so you can see everything. However, it is not a fully fixed bed. I'll touch on all the features as I go. It is a 3-piece bed. So on this side, under where the pillows are, And as I'm showing you that, you can see the cutout and the shrouds from the surge supply. So a nice cuts right down into it. My mattress is custom fit into there, so I get the full width. This side has my water system that runs a 36-gallon over-the-wheel well water tank, as well as my hot water heater. I also, in the back, in the corner there, is where I keep my diesel heater that comes out underneath the bed. Now, you guys have seen the garage from when we're in the back. However, part of that is this does fold up. So as I move this, you'll see this is actually 3 pieces here. So there's some hinges there, and from that side, and the whole thing will fold this way. That allows me to have the full length, and I can also get to the Tetravan shower that's underneath. This side is my electrical system, so why don't I pull the bed apart and we'll show you the electrical real quick. So I mentioned that this was a tri-fold on the mattress, so you notice it is a 3-piece mattress. Obviously this stays closed normally. You can see the hinges here where the bed folds up, but this is where the electrical system lives. So you notice I've got the Renogy Rego 3000 watt inverter charger. I took some covers off here so we can kind of get down and hopefully see them a little bit more. We'll do maybe this one here. So these combiners really allow me to get everything really nice and clean. Normally they've got the covers on like you see on the last one. And then my batteries sit underneath. I do have 3 314 amp hour watt cycle lithium batteries that I keep under there. And then just down under here, I don't think we can probably get to it to see it, but down there on the bottom is my MPPT and DC to DC charger as well. So almost all Renogy throughout on this build, along with the watt cycle batteries, and then going up to the solar on the roof. Okay, coming out from the electrical, I'm going to come over and show you. I've got this seating area here. I wanted some storage and just a nice place to sit. So this side of it is actually fully storage underneath there. I actually did just some fabric covers to make it easy to get to there. But then I think the other key is this side is actually where I have my toilet. So let's show you how this works. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm taking the cushion off, and then it just folds up right to the cassette toilet. Once you're done, easy enough to fold back down, hide it away. I feel like it doesn't get used as often. It's a nice way to hide it. So next up, you've probably been seeing these cabinets over me. Obviously, I do have the one Scirocco fan here. I have another fan in the other corner. I didn't do the same one, even though I really like this fan. I will say one of the things that I found was one of the biggest challenges with this fan, and I'll shut it off, is this shroud does not really protect from the blades. So when I have it up in the bed, and it's something I think people should think about, I didn't want this spinning and the dog, when he jumps up on the bed, hitting it. One, to hurt him or to break it, either one. So it's great here, doesn't really get touched, so not an issue. Now, the cabinets, talk about those for a second. So these are all also built out of 80/20, just like the rest of the construction. One of the things is I actually have these cabinet doors that they, instead of folding up like most, I decided to have them fold down. And a lot of the reason for that was so that I could have the full height of the cabinet. I realized in all reality, I'm never opening them when I'm sitting on the bench here. I'm never opening them. Let's see, if I'm in the bed, they're not in the way if I have them fold down. So it made it nice and easy. And then I just use these storage containers you see as a way to just keep things organized. You notice in the end, I've got my espresso machine, so that can come down. It just plugs in on the counter and I don't have to worry about it, but it fits nicely out of the way. And then all the way down the end, you'll see that I have a TV over the bed. We do also have a Roku soundbar. The TV is actually just a computer monitor, so I can use dual purpose and really connect in, get good resolution if I'm working on the road, but then also have the soundbar for good sound and as a smart TV when we are on the road. Now all of that and all of it runs off of my PepLink router that's sitting in the back. And now I want to get into a little bit about some of the electronics that are outside of just the batteries in that system, because I did do a lot in this van to make it more of a smart van and add in a lot of automation. So for some of the smart features, I'm going to actually show you the interface within Home Assistant, which is what I use to manage a lot of the system. So I do everything from managing my batteries via Bluetooth. I also interface via Bluetooth to my Renogy One, the Core One, the small monitor, which allows me to see what's happening with both the DC to DC charger, as well as the inverter, and even what's coming in for solar. Now, that works great on the first screen. And then also, I are things like Shelly. If you haven't heard of Shelly, they do small, both DC and AC adapters, I'll say, that are very tiny, get wired in, make for a very easy smart switch, and integrate great with the Home Assistant. And then also I have both Govee and Shelly to do some temperature monitoring. And along with that, that gives me the ability to do automations. So things like my heated floors, I can have them turn on automatically when it gets colder. Or using an IR blaster, or what's a lot of people see as a universal remote. So things like the Broadlink. Those would allow me to control my air conditioner, as well as the diesel heater, as long as it has a remote. So those are pieces that I've actually been doing quite a bit for this van, and in others, just to help build out kind of those smart solutions. Now you can also do things like water tank sensors and things like that. So if you have some of those systems, you have Victron, something like that, you could just integrate it in. I didn't think that I didn't have one system that gave me everything, and I really wanted to be able to monitor it. So that's really why I went with building out the Home Assistant. That Home Assistant is running on a Raspberry Pi that's actually sitting up near my router. The router is a PepLink router, so I can run Wi-Fi 5G with a SIM card, or I can connect it to my Starlink Mini for connectivity. So I always have connection when I'm in the van. I've been in tech for a long time, so it's important to me. And then also both the PepLink as well as the Raspberry Pi are all running off of a 12-volt PoE, or Power over Ethernet switch. What this allows me to do is really minimize the amount of cabling and less issue of things like random fuses or wires that might not have been exact. I have tons in here. I've already obviously spent a lot of time making sure it's there, but the ability to just click in and power things with Cat 6 cable really does make it much, much simpler. As I step out of the van, there's a couple more things you'll see in the front, from my lagoon table to my insulated, wonderful blackout curtain that really helps in the front. So I think that about wraps the van tour for now. I'll probably go into a little bit of specifics on some systems a little bit later, so make sure you pay attention. But thanks for joining me for the tour.